Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop. I want to show you the project that we've been working on in our current online workshop. It's called a standing desk. Now this was patterned after something that I would have envisioned you'd find in a lumber yard 50, 60 years ago or longer. My method of work has always been to design in a model first, and then if that worked, then build a full-size mock-up out of inexpensive material, make all your adjustments, and then from there you can actually take measurements and do the final project. So here it is. This was built with plywood and pine. Things were just screwed together. That way we could easily take it apart and make modifications. So by doing this, we were able to settle on the height that we wanted, the length, the width, and then the other applications. And I took the time to actually go in and do the drawers. Yeah, one of the ideas was to have a little pencil drawer. So the idea behind this was the merchant would be in his little office. Customers would come, they'd be out helping them in the yard getting their wood. They'd come back into the little office. I actually grew up buying lumber from a small yard like this. And the bill would be written up and the customer would sign it and do whatever. So that's why the merchant gets to sit here. He's got a flat spot there where the customer can do the signing. But we wanted to have a place where we could keep pens. So we have a little pencil drawer on either side. And what we did there was we just simply put 1/8" pieces, took an 1/8" piece of plywood, cut it out to the size and fasten it on there just so you'd be able to see it. Now we worked with the pigeonhole, and pigeonholes this way weren't going to work because it would interfere with the lid lifting up, so we ended up with standing ones. And then this lid's going to be hinged, there'll be 3 more drawers in there, yada yada. Anyway, so the hinge is going to be a wooden hinge, so just like my wooden hinge boxes, the hinge on the lid will be blended in, so when it's closed there's nothing, no obstructions whatsoever. It's good and strong if that's what you're worried about. So once we were done, and by the way, all the joinery on the legs or on the base is a through wedge tenon. And what we did there, in order to get the dimensions, because if you do a through wedge tenon, and I'll show you an actual example, the wedge becomes a highlight, something that you notice. So if it was going to be light wood, you'd have a dark wedge. So I went in and I drew what it would look like, and on this side I made a smaller one. And we just decided that a 3/8" mortise wasn't going to be enough, didn't look beefy enough, so we went with a 1/2 inch. And then we drew in what we thought would be the right proportion for the wedges. And then down here, because your mortise is and you always have to be wedging perpendicular to the run of the grain. So you can't wedge this way, it would split the wood. You always have to wedge perpendicular to the grain. So this piece, in order to be securely held here, there would be 2 through wedge tenons. So once we were done and had it all figured out, we started this is the project that we're currently doing, or the part of it that we are currently working on. And it's a little bit slow because we do 3 45-minute episodes each week. So this is being done out of cherry. Now if you look here in the end, I'll show you some of the things that we did that may be of interest. So I took this piece, now I built enough drawers that I could easily fill the floor space in here and hide it completely with all the drawers I've done. But I think this is the first time I've ever done this. I wanted to build it so that we didn't have to worry about expansion. So there's your apron, and I took this piece, there's your drawer. I took this piece, I made a cut right down through here, then I took that section and I cut it there and I cut it there to preserve what would be my drawer front. And of course then I glued it back, and then I finished off the ends, so the ends were perfectly squared and finished with the plane. Same thing on these 2 pieces. Pushed them back together so they were up tight and glued the whole thing back together. So there's a little disruption in the grain pattern, but not very much. And that disruption would be having to move this piece essentially 1/8 inch in that direction, and the same thing over here. This piece is exactly where it came from. But it just makes for a nice little pencil drawer. And the same thing will be done on the other side. Now on this one, on the front, I did the same thing. But however, we just finished this. So what I did, because this takes such a long time from the time we start to the time we get finished, because of all the just only filming 3 45-minute episodes each week. I didn't want the wood to get marked up from fingerprints and whatever. And the whole idea in this project is that everything is finished right from the hand plane. So if you finish it from the hand plane, you can't come back in and remove a mark on something like this with a hand plane, because you're going to bump into the end, of course. So after I planed it, I put 1 coat of lacquer on there just to preserve it. And it's, of course, being cherry, it's going to start to oxidize. So that's the reason why this piece stands out. It was recently planed in order to come out flush, but once that oxidizes like the one over there in the end, that'll blend in and you won't notice it at all. And what we used for an accent wood was holly. So here's a piece of holly. It comes out of Meriden. It's the whitest of all the woods I think you can find. It's rather expensive, so I don't want to tell you what that costs, but it does obviously age a little bit, yellow with time. However, those drawer sides aren't going to be exposed to UV light most of the time, so that should keep nice contrast there on the dovetail. Take that out. The back is cherry as well, as is the front. The bottom is a piece of local cedar. And it's a solid wood bottom. Oh, is it bass? No, it's not. Aspen, sorry. Thank you, aspen. So this fits in a groove on 3 sides, glued on the front, and then you have a slot back here so that as it expands seasonally, that will slide underneath the screw, which holds it fast, and that'll prevent it from jamming up or causing anything to break. I'll take the lid off in a minute and show you that as well. Now, the other place that we used, in fact, if you watch over here, I got to do something about that. In fact, if you put it in there, you can push it out and pull it in. No. Anyway, we'll get that fixed. So the other place that we use holly is down here. All of our wedges are holly, so you get that nice white contrast against the cherry. There's our 2 little ones in order to compensate for this piece. So up in here, what we did, of course, we didn't do through wedge tenons, but we have 2 tenons. So this piece has a tenon here and here with a section left alone so that you don't have a great big huge gaping hole or mortise on this piece, which would severely weaken this section. Imagine if you had a mortise that was that long, 1/2 inch wide, and at least 3/4 inch deep on this side and on that side. Doesn't leave a lot of material left here. By splitting it in 2 and leaving a center section intact, it just gives a little more integrity to that portion of it. Everything has a little chamfer on there, and we just finished it off with something kind of a modified lamb's tongue, they would call that. Now, the lid, in order to be dimensionally stable, the lid is made, at the top, is made out of a piece of MDF, 1-inch MDF, and we banded it with solid cherry all the way around. And then this veneer, cherry veneer, and this is really thick veneer, will be glued up into one piece, and then that will be glued on there and flushed off. Again, that'll have a little V groove on the top and on the bottom, so that this joint where the lid sits on top of the leg, that'll break that joint. I'm just going to slide this off and show you what's going on underneath. Rather unorthodox the way we built the actual box to house the drawer. Again, I wanted to make something so that everything moved in unison. So obviously this drawer is going to increase and decrease seasonally as the moisture changes. But then because the drawer front is the same piece of wood moving in the same direction, that shouldn't be a problem. So the inside portions are done the same way. Wood across its width so that it'll expand and contract. And we did a lot of work in order to get that fit. And you know your fit is right when you can push it in from one corner and nothing jams. And then there's our little section up in here for the small drawer. When the top goes on, that will be what will be the top rider for this little drawer. But we've got to figure out, we've got to put a air hole, breathing hole somewhere so that thing doesn't go shooting out when you close this drawer. I still have yet to get caught up on the other side with that drawer, both the big one and the small one out of this end. And then we'll build the top section in probably another 5 or 6 months of work on it. Anyway, if you're interested in that, our website is RobCosman.com, and it leads you right there to our online workshop. It is a membership-based program, but if you're looking for some instruction that will give you training in building furniture from the selection of lumber right up through to the completed project, come on, join us, have a look at it. In fact, if you want, we'll even give you a free trial, see if you enjoy it. Anyway, hope this was of interest to you. See you.